ain't seeing me. I've been said I'm hot, and you just now believe in me. Swag Science in the building. We doing the fight recap for the Manny Pacquiao Chris Algieri fight that took place last night. First of all, the whole card, I was entertained. It was a decent card. It wasn't worth no 70 clams. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't pay for that shit, know what I mean? But I was entertained. All the fights were decent. You know, the Vargas fight and DeMarco, that was a war. That was fucking good. Lomachenko boxed beautifully. Good to see him fight again soon. Zhou Schming, his fight was cool. He still gets hit with his opponent's best weapon too many times. He ate too many overhand rights, but he was looking good. It was a decent fight, and I think that was it. Yeah, so got the little small fry out the way. So the main event, I gotta say I was impressed by Manny Pacquiao. I called he would win, you know, but I thought Chris Algieri would be a lot more competitive, at least round-wise. I felt he was competitive in spots. He did land some good jabs and 1-2s and hooks, but nothing consistently enough to really win rounds, and that's where I was wrong. You know, I thought he'd be able to push Pacquiao back with a steady jab that he usually does in all his previous fights, but I think Pacquiao's speed and aggression really just threw him off. You know, everybody thinks they could get in there with Pacquiao and just throw a couple hard jabs and move around a little bit and win a decision, but you know, it doesn't work like that. You know, Pacquiao looked good cutting off the ring, throwing combos, and basically he set the tempo for the fight. Chris Algieri, you know, that team really never had the best type of game plan. I would have just really been boxing aggressively from the get-go, because I'd rather have a close competitive fight and Manny knocks your ass out in the middle rounds, and you know you put everything on the line and you went out on your shield, and just, you know, box cautiously, score here or there, and just lose round after round, and Manny Pacquiao eventually opens up more and starts really beating your ass. And that's pretty much what happened last night. 6 knockdowns. I know a few of them were janky, but you know, he legitimately dropped Algieri several times and hurt him. You know, had his face looking fucked up. Overall, just a good performance by Pacquiao. When you look at it, I think he's had a great year. Probably the best year he's had in a while when you look at it. I mean, he dominated Tim Bradley early this year. Tim Bradley is at least a top 3 ranked welterweight. I mean, who else is ahead of Tim Bradley at welterweight besides Manny and Floyd? It ain't Marquez, it ain't Thurman, it ain't Amir Khan, ain't Alexander, you feel me? You look at Chris Algieri, he's a top 3 junior welterweight. I mean, who else is ahead of him besides Swift, you know, Danny Garcia and Maurice Herrera? I mean, besides those 2 dudes, now I know people might want to say, oh, Matisse, but Matisse, he didn't really do shit this year. I mean, he went life and death with John Molina, you know, good fight, but you know, he was a big favorite in that fight. He should have dominated, looked more spectacular. And then the second fight he had, I believe, not too long ago, I think it was on the Broner undercard, and that shit was over before it started. So, I mean, as you know, as a whole, the 140-pound division ain't really happened this year for boxing in that division. You know, the only significant fights you had were the Herrera, Garcia. I felt Herrera should have won. And then you had Algieri and Ruslan Provodnikov. That was a good fight. That was it. You didn't really have too many. I mean, we never got Peterson and Swift. You know, a lot of shit didn't really jump off. So I think that kind of makes the win stand out even more. But I don't think Pacquiao gonna get the credit he really deserves in this fight, because Algieri's a real, great boxer. He showed good footwork, but that's the thing. You had a B+ fighter going against a A- or A+ fighter in Pacquiao, and there's levels to this shit, and you saw it. Right now, I don't even think Pacquiao and Mayweather are gonna fight, so I'm not even gonna talk about that matchup. But I would love to see Pacquiao in there with Keith Thurman. The reason being because I feel Thurman has the best chance of beating Pacquiao. The reason why I feel that way because he could box, he has skills, he's quick, has athleticism, but not only can he box, he actually has knockout power. I don't think his overall skills and footwork are up there with Algieri's, but it's almost there. It's really there. He's quicker, he's more athletic, and he has the power. Algieri, pure boxer, but unless he really let his hands go and break a nigga down, he's not gonna stop anybody. That's where they kind of fucked up in the fight. Bradley and them did the same thing, but at least Bradley tried to knock out Pacquiao earlier this year, in the first half of their fight. But, and they start getting them Filipino combos that they had, they can't take that fade no more, so everybody goes into survival retreat mode. Pacquiao, he did his thing, but I would really like to see a fight with Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman will be able to box Manny and as well as set traps and, hurt Pacquiao, because it's clear as day right now. It's been that way, but you can't really try to outbox Pacquiao in long stretches without being able to hurt him. And that's what it comes down to. I don't think there's anybody else out there that I would really say that has the power to really hurt Pacquiao, like stop him in his tracks or drop him. But, I'm just saying some bullshit, because Pacquiao and them, they trying to go back down to 140, so that fight with Thurman, that might not happen. But I'd love to see a fight with Pacquiao and Danny Garcia. Right now, I think Pacquiao eats him alive, but I would still like to see it. Other than that, man, this is Swag Science. Chris Algieri, I don't know where he goes from here. Maybe back to ESPN, but he tried to do his thing, but he was just in there with a better fighter. That's all it is. I really hope we get bigger matches next year as far as pay-per-view wise, because this year it's really been underwhelming. This is Pacquiao, Algieri. This is a regular TV fight all day. Main event, yeah, but it wasn't no pay-per-view type fight. And I'm not mad at the opponent. I'm not mad at this matchup. It was good to see Pacquiao fight a pure boxer, a style that we think or thought could have given him any, some type of trouble. But at the end of the day, we want bigger fights, man. We all boxing fans. We want the best. You know what I mean? So, Swag Science 1.